Hello and welcome to the SRA Podcast Season 3. We've been off the air for a couple of months now, and a lot of things have changed. In some ways, it feels like we're living in a completely different world now than we were back in January, and there's a lot to catch up on. First, some organizational news. The SRA is at a major turning point in its growth and evolution. From our humble beginnings with 2 chapters and a website, we've grown to become a more than 3,500 member national organization with established chapters all across the country. We believe the SRA may now be the 3rd largest socialist organization in the United States. This has not been without its growing pains. Our original bylaws, written in October 2018, had a number of flaws which became more and more apparent as the organization grew. While we strived for a mix of federation and centralization, once the organization reached a certain size, there was simply too much power and responsibility placed in the hands of the Central Committee, which led to political infighting and burnout for our national organizers. In response to this, President Alex has written a new set of bylaws with input from national and chapter organizers and presented it to the general membership. If adopted, the new bylaws would radically alter the organization's structure. The Central Committee would be abolished entirely, and its responsibilities divided between several new bodies. The National Assembly would be made up of elected delegates from the chapters and at large, and would be responsible for the general political slant of the organization, as well as approval of the org's budget. The President would remain a nationally elected position, but the Secretary and Treasurer will be appointed by the National Assembly. The President, Secretary, and Treasurer would have supervisory authority over the administrative staff, which would consist of various directors and volunteers, both paid and unpaid. In addition, a member Welfare Council would be appointed by the National Assembly and the President to oversee all disciplinary issues. This division of powers will reduce the stress placed on any one individual and will help eliminate conflicts of interest created by political, administrative, and disciplinary power being vested in one body. Another major change will be the introduction of dues sharing for ratified chapters, with a percentage of all member dues from a given chapter's jurisdiction going to a prepaid card under that chapter's treasurer's control. This should give our chapters much more flexibility to work on their own projects without having to petition national for money. Additionally, we will be creating a 2-tiered membership system to improve operational security, with new members needing to be vetted by a chapter or by a national vetting system before they can run for organizational office. We will also be adopting a new membership management software, which will make this new structure possible to implement and will greatly improve our organizational infrastructure overall. If you are a member of the SRA, I encourage you to visit the Slack or the forum and review the current draft of the new bylaws, and please post any comments or suggestions. We will be putting the new bylaws to a national referendum in the coming months, and we want to make sure that everyone is fully aware of the contents of this reform package. The Central Committee, and I personally, hope that this change helps lay the groundwork for the SRA to continue its growth and success for years to come. I'd also like to talk about the direction of the SRA podcast for Season 3. One of the reasons for the long break the last couple of months has been the sheer speed with which world events have been happening. Creating the podcast in the format we used for Season 2 simply takes too much time. By the time we had one segment finished, some other news story would occur that would make that episode obsolete. We had 2 or 3 false starts for Season 2, Episode 15, and eventually I just gave up. I've been straddling the edge of burnout for a while, and in March a number of personal events, as well as the social isolation necessary because of COVID-19, put me into a pit of depression that left me with barely enough energy to fulfill my obligations to SRA National, let alone work on the podcast. After a couple weeks off, I've recovered enough to get back into the swing of things, but I have to make some changes. I'm changing the format of the podcast. Instead of doing 2 segments separated by a musical interlude, we will be releasing much shorter, single-segment podcasts with a single interview or conversation. We will add new musical numbers to the podcast as they're performed or provided to us, rather than scrambling to get one ready every month. And finally, we'll also be sticking to a much looser schedule, releasing podcasts as I'm able to record them, instead of trying to adhere to a specific schedule. Hopefully, this should help us put out podcasts more frequently overall, and with much less overhead and much less stress on me and Ed. So, with all that said, our first interview of Season 3 is with American Johnson, YouTuber and organizer with the new organization General Strike 2020. I hope you all enjoy. Welcome back. Today I have a very special interview with American Johnson, host of the YouTube channel Non-Compete and organizer for General Strike 2020. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This is my first time on the SRA podcast. I'm a big fan of the work that you all are doing back in my home country of the USA.
Definitely. And really enjoyed coming on your YouTube channel about a month ago. Had a really nice interview there with president of the organization, Alex. So you're in Vietnam, correct?
I am. And yeah, now that you mention it, I guess it was about a month ago. It was like the hell month ago. It feels like it was like years ago now. We've really been having those like weeks that have decades in them. But yeah, it's I'm glad to be talking to you now. I wish that we weren't talking under these circumstances. But, it's obviously important that we all start talking and finding solutions to these major problems that are gripping, not just the USA, but the whole world, but especially the USA right now. So
definitely, there's all sorts of things happening across the country. There is a wave of labor strikes. Yeah. There's been pushes for rent strikes across the country, new tenants unions forming, existing ones going on rent strike due to tenants losing their jobs, not having income. The economy is taking a nosedive. They're anticipating something like an additional 3 million people unemployed this month. And yeah, it's very bad, but the upside is that there's a lot of people who are interested in organizing to help each other and, engaging in radical actions to undermine the sort of oppression that they would otherwise face.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sobering, for one thing. It kind of puts a lot of things in perspective. For me, it has definitely affected my worldview in a lot of ways and my rhetoric and my actions. I mean, the things that I was prioritizing before this crisis hit, I look back now and I realize, I was really overly concerned about some things and not as active in other areas, specifically in working to try to organize people. I think if we collectively, I definitely include myself in this, I think if we were all more organized and more focused on the real enemy of capitalism and, landlordism and all of these oppressive systems, the concentration camps that are holding immigrants, all of these different, the way that indigenous groups are being, it's kind of a new era of clamping down on Native Americans and indigenous people around the world. And we've kind of haven't really been focused until, I think we're starting to get focused now. I wish it didn't take this crisis to, get us all on the same page, so to speak. But it's like I keep saying, this is the worst way to see the systems of, that rule our lives, the institutions that rule our lives collapse. If I would much rather this had not happened. But now that it is happening and we're all in this terrible, terrible situation, I think it's more important than ever to start organizing. And what I'm really glad to see is that people are already doing it, and we already have mutual aid networks shooting up. People are striking kind of spontaneously all across America, like you said, and around the world. By the way, our movement is called General Strike 2020, and we have a website at genstrike.org. But we basically started as a small group of leftists. Most of us were leftist content creators early on, and we saw what was happening with all these strikes happening, all these mutual aid networks popping up, people talking about rent striking all over the place. And we saw the movement that was already happening, and we thought, how can we help? How can we support this? So we're not here to try to lead or own any kind of movement. We're here to support the workers and the organizations that are already acting to protect themselves and empower themselves in this really desperate situation. So that's what we're doing. It's a critical time. There's a lot happening really fast. We're trying to control the chaos and tighten up our messaging and our platform. But we got to act now because there's no time to sit around and make really complicated plans. We just have to find the simplest, most efficient solutions.
Well, the best time to start organizing is 10 years ago, and the second
Exactly.
best time is now. So
Right.
I want to bring up a criticism that I think a lot of members and a lot of people might have if they've been around the left for a while.
Yeah.
The criticism that calling for a general strike is irresponsible or unrealistic, because a general strike is, in leftist theory, is when all or a majority of the workers in a geographic area all set down their tools and cease all economic activity in an organized
Yeah.
fashion. And sort of the criticism that is raised is that we don't have the organization or the solidarity in the United States to do that. So why are you calling for a general strike? This seems, just like sloganeering, and I don't think that's the case with your organization, but I think that's the first reaction that a lot of people might have.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. And I would tell you one thing about 2 months ago, before the pandemic really started to take root, I would have been one of those people. I've read the article No More Fake Strikes, which is a really good article people should check out. I believe it's on Portside. If you just Google "No More Fake Strikes" in quotes, you'll find it. And they had that article really covers, I think, very eloquently and efficiently all of the different recent movements for like calls for a general strike that were just kind of misguided and exactly the way you described. I want to say that we are aware that what we are doing and trying to do is not what a traditional general strike looks like. In the past, whenever people have successfully implemented general strikes, they've had to use tactics that are not available to us right now, for one thing, and they were in circumstances that were very different than what we're in right now. This is kind of an unprecedented situation in a lot of ways, or at least we haven't had a major pandemic like this since 1918. And there are things that are not available to us as a working class right now, for one thing. We can't go out in the streets. We can't come together physically and organize. We have to stay physically apart right now so we can avoid spreading this disease. And also just the circumstance we're in terms of the institutions around us failing, leaving us behind. Everyone is scared. Everyone's unstable. We just went through a financial crisis, about 10 years ago, and most of us are still reeling from that. I know I am. I'm still trying to recover from where I was back in 2008. So we think that this is a desperate time, and it calls for some desperate measures, and it calls for creativity and thinking outside of the box and trying to find new ways to do things. So I, for one, know for a fact that what we're doing and trying to accomplish is not a traditional general strike. We're not calling for every single worker in the U.S. to strike right now. What we're trying to do is just support the workers that are already striking across America, support the rent striking tenants across America, try to get people thinking about how we can start some kind of debt striking activity and come together in a coordinated manner across America. The other thing is we've never had a crisis situation on this scale. And because I've been alive since the internet basically started. I used to be on CompuServe and AOL back in the early days of the internet. I'm you can OK Boomer me right now. But in my lifetime, we've never had in the USA a crisis on this scale. We've never had this kind of instability and fear and mismanagement by the government, on this scale where it's affecting every single person in the USA. And now we have the internet. We have ways of connecting with each other that we haven't had in past major crises in the USA. And I think that we have to change with the times, and we have to think about how we can fight this oppression that's going to kill people. And the longer we wait and the less we do, the more people are going to die. It's a life and death situation. So what we're trying to do is just let me put it this way. Every single day now, we're getting emails at genstrike.org from hundreds of people, and they're all saying the same thing. They're all across the country. I'm hearing from people in rural areas, in big cities. I'm hearing from people that work for Amazon. I'm hearing from people that work for, small, little companies that have like 5 or 6 employees. I'm hearing from people that just got laid off. I'm hearing from people whose spouses are working 80 hours right now in healthcare and not being provided with proper protective equipment, and they're all saying the same thing. We want to push back against this. We want to fight against this. We want to protect ourselves, but we don't know what to do. We don't know how to organize. We're scared. And when I get these emails, it's breaking my heart because I'm reading the same thing again and again and again from all these different people, and they're telling me their stories. And I know that we have to do something to help them organize. So the first thing we try to do is we try to get people who are scared and don't know what to do and have no experience with activism or with organizing. We're trying to get them connected with organizations that already exist and that might be able to help them get organized right now. So we're sharing a resource list that includes the IWW to try to help people organize. That's the Industrial Workers of the World, which is a militant union that is organizing people no matter what job they're in. We're trying to connect people with the Social Democrats of America just so they can start to have more political correspondence with people who might be in their same situation and have their same mindset right now. Yeah.
Do you mean DSA?
I'm sorry.
No, I think that's a fair description.
The DSA. Yeah, but we're also connecting people with mutual aid networks, and we do hope to start working with organizations like yours as well, workers organizations that are dedicated to liberating the working class. So that is that's our first priority, is just taking these individuals who are not connected to any organization, trying to get them connected with one. Some of them don't have any organizations available in their area, so then we try to help them figure out maybe they can start a chapter for an existing organization, or maybe they have to start something of their own. But the point is, we're trying to counsel people and advise them to figure out the best, most efficient way for them to start getting self-empowered and self-organized. And then the other thing we're trying to do is talking to organizations like yours across the USA, and we're going to try to correspond with different orgs and try to put together basically a mutual aid network and strategic and tactical coordination communication effort. And the whole idea is basically, for us at General Strike 2020 at genstrike.org, we just want to find out what your organizations need and then try to help you get those things. So whether it's signal boosting your actions or helping to recruit members to your organizations or helping to raise funds, that's the kind of way that we want to help your organizations. And then we want to help different organizations talk to each other. One thing I've noticed from the organizations that I'm active in, I'm a Wobbly, I'm in the IWW, and I'm in a few other organizations. And one thing I've noticed is that when you're in one of those organizations, you're so busy working to actually serve the people that you're trying to help, there's not a lot of time for outreach to other organizations. So we want to take some of that pressure off and kind of work as a go-between, sort of a support network to help organizations communicate with each other and act, as efficiently as possible as a working class cohesive whole. And there's a lot to do, but we think that those two prongs, those two kinds of avenues of attack, are the most effective ways that we as an organization can help support people like you who are doing the real work of organizing and protecting the working class.
So in a way, it sort of sounds like you're basically acting as an agitation group, and you're working to funnel people who are interested in organizing into existing organizations where they can do that sort of work. Is that a good sort of outline of your plan?
Yeah, we're counseling individuals and advising them and trying to help them find their way into organizations or build organizations of their own. And then we're also trying to connect organizations together and support those organizations. So we're a support group. That's it. We're here to help people that need help. We're not here to lead people or own this movement. We're not here to tell people what to do. We're here to ask people what they need and try to get them whatever they need to do the work that they're already trying to do.
I think is really valuable, especially if we then have groups focusing on organizing unions and organizing tenants unions. I think that's really valuable. I always take a sort of approach to leftist politics of, a diversity of tactics, action on every front possible. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you're sort of taking that same tact. Whatever action someone can engage in, they should be doing that, and you're there to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that we're noticing, just through all these emails and these people that are coming to us and all these new members that are flooding in, is that there are many, and it's something I didn't realize before. I've been involved in the left for about 3 years now, and something I didn't realize is that there are many different avenues through which people develop class consciousness and become prepared to fight for their own class interests. And I guess I've kind of been a little bit arrogant as a content creator, as somebody who's trying to spread the word in a very direct, communicatory manner to try to wake people up through my rhetoric and my video essays and that sort of thing. But right now what we're seeing is that a lot of people arrive at class consciousness through their experiences. Because I'm getting emails from people who don't know anything about socialism, they don't know anything about mutual aid, they don't know what direct action means. But what they do know is that they're getting a very raw deal right now. They're being endangered by a system that doesn't care about them. And they are just intuitively and instinctively realizing that something's got to give and they have to do something to protect themselves. And those are the kinds of emails we're getting. We're getting emails from people who have never been politically active, who don't know anything about politics, who've never really followed politics, but suddenly they're seeing what's happening around them and they're realizing that this system does not exist for them. It exists for a small number of millionaires and billionaires. They're the things that we on the left have been talking about for a long, long time. People are starting to wake up to that on their own. And we have to be there ready in the wings to take those people and show them that, look, we have tools, we have strategies that have worked in the past. We have these organizations that exist. They're ready to go. They're set up. And we just have to basically hold their hands and get them started. And I know that once they get rolling, then they'll pick it up and they'll become comrades in arms, so to speak, really quickly. But they need that first nudge, and that's a difficult thing for orgs like yours. I'm guessing, and I'd like to hear your perspective on this. But I would assume that right now you're pretty busy with other things, and it might be helpful for you to have an organization like us that kind of helps do some of that early, basic, sort of busy work, I guess you might call it. But it's important work, but it's not exactly mission critical for what you're trying to do at the SRA, for instance. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we could kind of help with that early stage stuff and take some of the pressure off of your kind of groups.
In the SRA's case, we have a pretty good system through our chapters and through our Slack, where we're able to, once someone joins, we're very often able to get them plugged into local communities, or at least into an online community.
Cool. And
SRA recruitment is doing pretty well right now. When Americans get scared, they buy guns and join gun clubs.
Yeah.
So the SRA is we're expanding pretty rapidly, which is going to help us a lot with mutual aid, especially coming up this fall, assuming that we have fires and hurricanes in addition to the knock-on effects of this sort of plague that we're experiencing.
Great. I mean, it's not that we're having a plague. Well, yeah. So let me just say, first of all, I didn't mean to kind of like arrogantly assume that you might need help with that. Now that I'm listening to what you have going on, I'm a part of the IWW, and I know that chapters of the IWW are having trouble with like just onboarding new members, and trying to steer them. So, not all chapters are the same in the IWW. I'm just talking about the few that I've spoken to, and that's a need that they have. But now that I know that, maybe this is just an example of a way that we might all work together. If you and the SRA do have a really great onboarding and orientation program, maybe that's something where we would start to push more people towards the SRA. That's just an example. We would obviously have to talk about and discuss the strategy and all that kind of thing. But the whole point is putting these organizations together in a way that connects all the dots and takes the pressure off of some orgs that are having overburden, that are being overburdened in some areas, and then like letting other orgs who have capacity available do more of that heavy lifting. That's kind of what we're trying to do, if that makes sense, just to illustrate our goals.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think what's different between the SRA and the IWW is that the SRA is an organization that's focused on teaching people how to shoot and how to do first aid that are very practical skills.
Right.
And then the organization behind it can pretty much be done in a number of different ways at the chapter level. It's, we let people organize however they want to organize, and let people essentially, through discussion with others and their own experimentation, find out what organizing system works best for them. What you can't really do that for a labor union like the IWW. You can't really do that for a tenants union because the restrictions around it are much more complicated legally, tactically. There's a lot more to it. And so I think that that's really beneficial. And I think that's an area that the left really needs to push on and expand. We need more militant unionism. We need more tenants unions. We need more people who have these sort of leftist inclinations to actually get out there and to start organizing their community, because that's what's really needed. Like I've made the statement a few times on the podcast, and I'll make it again. The SRA, if you're a member, the SRA should not be your only contact point with leftist politics. Right. If you're in the SRA, you should also be a member of another org, whether that's DSA, IWW, PSL, whatever political orientation you're with. If you want to get involved with other mutual aid organizations, the SRA should be complementary to your other political activities and your other political praxis. And I think that one of those sorts of alternative and really very important forms of praxis that people need to engage in is in organizing labor and organizing tenants, because those are our two biggest levers against the economic power of the ruling class right now, especially because most people can't do something like withhold taxes or withhold debt without suffering really severe consequences automatically. I think that there is a lot of work there that needs to be done. And I also wanted to speak to your comments around people who have these sorts of leftist inclinations but need that push to really get organized. I saw one of your live streams recently. You mentioned Gramsci, which I think is someone that you could really benefit from reading, in terms of someone who talks about the idea of cultural hegemony, the idea of you need to have these structures, these institutions, this cultural presence in place, because most people don't change their political views based on a debate or based on, some logical chain of thinking. Most people change their political beliefs on the basis of some experience that they've had in their lives,
Right.
something that forces them to change their worldview. When that worldview shifts, you need to have institutions there which they can enter. And I think having an organization like yours, which acts as a feeder from the general population into radical organizations that are doing real organizing, then I think that that is a very beneficial and a very Gramscian, if you want to be pretentious, sort of approach to politics. And I think it's really good. I'm just, obviously there is a lot of work that needs to be done as well. This is not something that is very simple to set up.
Right. No. And we're still very much on the ground floor. And, we're getting people in right now, and basically we're doing the counseling and the advising in sort of a triage manner almost. Like we're talking to people, we're trying to, as efficiently as possible, get them pointed in the right direction, but we're definitely rapidly trying to build that onboarding process out and make it more efficient and effective. So what we're trying to do is get together a team of advisors and counselors who are experienced activists and organizers who can take 20, 30 minutes a day and give advice to people. Obviously the more hands we have on deck, the better we can do this job. So if you are an experienced activist or organizer and this sounds like something you want to do, reach out to us, because we could definitely use the help right now. We have a lot of demand from people who are literally begging for help learning how to be an active leftist. It's a really unprecedented situation for me as somebody who's been trying to convert people to the left for a long time. I've never had people just coming up to me and saying, like, how do I be a leftist? Show me. So this is a great opportunity for people, I think.
So if someone is in that position and does want to become an active leftist and start organizing like that, how do they, or also if someone is an experienced leftist and wants to mentor somebody or teach them how to engage in this sort of action, how can they get in contact and get plugged into your organization?
The easiest thing to do is email us at generalstrike2020@gmail.com. I am reading every single email right now. I'm actually spending like a couple hours every day just reading and replying to emails. I will see your email. I'm hoping that eventually we'll be able to get one or two other trusted people who have been really vetted into the fielding emails thing, just to, so I can take a little break from it every now and then. But we want to be really careful with that, because some people are, don't really know about OPSEC and stuff. So right now I'm the only one that's reading the emails. And it'll stay that way until we have another, a very secure system for reading emails. So you can email me at generalstrike2020@gmail.com. Don't dox yourself. Don't give me information that would reveal your employer or anything, just for, that's just good general advice. You never know what might happen. It might, you might accidentally send it to the wrong email address or something. Just be really careful and just send me your basic information. Don't give me, you don't have to give me like your real name or anything like that. If you want to, you can use a burner email. I don't really care. The point is just tell me your basic information. And then what we'll do from there is we will try to get you onto one of our communication platforms. Discord's a popular one. We also have Riot Matrix server if you'd prefer something encrypted, and we're building more tools every day. So we'll talk to you some way that makes you feel comfortable, and we will try to help you out. That's the best way to do it. And I think that what I want to say to people, what I keep telling people in the emails when they're emailing me is, you're not alone, and do not act alone. Our slogan right now, and this is really, I probably should have started with this actually at the beginning. This is probably the most important thing to say right now, is we don't want anybody to act as individuals right now. We see some people who are calling for general strikes and rent strikes and debt strikes, and they are doing it in this kind of, we think, hazardous way, where they're basically saying, hey, everyone just don't go to work on the 1st as individuals. Everyone write a letter to your landlord and say you're not going to pay rent this month as an individual. We think that's dangerous. We do not encourage that. We say you need to get organized. We say you need to use the tried and true tactics of tenant organizing. If you want to do a rent strike, you need to get other tenants on board. You need to do it in a collected manner and use the techniques that have been proven to work. And the same goes for labor striking. If you're going to strike, you need to organize your workplace and strike collectively. If you can't do that, because we get a lot of people who are also saying, I can't rent strike, I can't labor strike, how else can I help? There are so many ways you can help. We need a lot of help on our end. So if you want to come forward and just help with our organization, or we'll point you to another organization that needs help, we can help you connect those dots as well. There's a lot that needs to be done, and we know that people have to act fast wherever they are. And so we're just trying to find the most efficient way to get people organized. But the most important thing is, do not act alone, please. You're not alone. You have people here to help you. So just use these systems and get the help that will help you to be more effective and safe in this really dangerous time.
Excellent. So is there anything else about your organization or about your approach to politics as an organization that you want to go into more detail on?
Well, yeah, I think one thing a lot of leftists are probably wondering is, like, do we have a particular political ideology or tendency. And we're trying very hard we are a platformist organization for one thing. So we're building a platform. We're finalizing it right now, the platform that we're adhering to. But we're going to have a platform. And then as long as you agree to our platform, which is essentially just anti-landlord, anti-wage system, anti-exploitation, if you agree to our platform, you can join. We want to build a tactical unity sort of environment. We have people who are working with us right now. I'm an anarcho-communist. If you want to throw labels around, I'm an ANCOM, I'm an anarchist. I have people who are working with me right now in the server, and we're working together very well and efficiently, who are Maoists. We have Marxist-Leninists. We have mutualists. We have people who are, social democrats or Demsocs or whatever you want to, probably both. we have a wide range of people from all tendencies. And then, of course, we have the new people who don't even know what the tendencies are yet. So, we're hoping to unite people in a tactical manner where we have the same goal and we're working towards it. So that's something that I think it's important for people to know. And I also think it's important to know that if you really want to have some impact here, now is the time to call us and get and email us and get on board, because we're building everything right now. The earlier you get in, the more of a voice you're going to have on how this is structured. There's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. There's still a lot of systems that we're building out right now, and things are happening fast. So get on board right now, especially if you have experience and you have input and advice that comes from effective work that you've done in the past. That's the kind of stuff we need right now. And I guess the last thing that I want to say is just that I'm really glad that you and I are having this conversation right now, because look, I've already learned things about the SRA that I didn't know. And that gives me more information for how we can help you. And I think you hopefully have learned a few things about what we're trying to do. And also your listeners are going to be hearing about my org, and we're going to be sharing this podcast with people who are involved with genstrike.org, and they're going to be learning about the SRA. And that, I think, really is the spirit of what we're trying to do right now, having more conversations, trying to find productive ways to work with each other and help spread each other's messages and develop this spirit of mutual aid on the left. So I'm really glad that you invited me here, and I think that this is really exactly in the spirit of what genstrike.org is trying to do.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to plug on your way out? Any last words you want to leave people with?
Not really. Just plug. I'm just going to plug genstrike.org. I want you to go to that website. I want you to check out. We have a YouTube channel that you can, we have a video on the channel. If you go there, you could subscribe to the YouTube channel. More videos will be coming. I know that our platform looks a little like the platform that we have on our website in terms of the text right now while I'm recording this is a little bit vague. It's just because we're developing the actual official platform. But, basically everything I've been saying in this podcast is going into the platform that we're building. So, yeah, if you have some time and you have some experience, or if you need some help and support and you're not sure what to do right now, it sounds like the SRA could help you. So definitely look into joining the SRA. And also I hope you look into genstrike.org. And the more the merrier, I think, is safe to say for both organizations right now. We both could use support, and we both are here to help.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Solidarity forever.
Solidarity forever. That's exactly right. That's the battle cry. Let's do it.
When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Is there aught we hold in common with the greedy parasite who would lash us into serfdom and would crush us with his might? Is there anything left to us but to organize and fight? For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. All the world that's owned by idle drones is ours and ours alone. We have laid the wide foundations, built it skyward stone by stone. It is ours not to slave it, but to master and to own, while the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity They have taken untold millions that they never told to earn. But without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel can turn. We can break their haughty power, gain our freedom when we learn that the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong.
In our hands is placed a power greater than their hoarded gold, greater than the might of armies magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong.
Solidarity forever, solidarity